This week on the Max Frequency Podcast, Super Smash Bros. Brawl turns 15, Peter Spezia returns to Brawl, and Show Me Your News Impact. We cover them all in this week's rundown. Masahiro Sakurai's Wii masterpiece is 15 years old today. How is that even possible? And what is Brawl's lasting legacy? Peter Spezia is back on the Brawl scene. How did Show Me Your News change his life? Is Brawl the best Smash ever? And does he still main Captain Falcon? Show Me Your News was the weekly weekend podcasting source recapping the biggest news in anticipation of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. How did a 19-year-old college student become the voice of a community? What secrets does SMYN have? And will there be any Easter eggs? You'll have to stick around to find out. Peter Spezia, I implore you to show me your news. This is the Max Frequency Podcast, a video game and tech discussion podcast. All support comes from maxfrequency.net and www.chapterselect.com. And now, here's your host, Max Roberts, with Show Me Your News. What's good, Smash fans? Welcome to the Max Frequency Podcast, your monthly podcasting source recapping the biggest news in celebration of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. My name is Max, and I'm here this week to go over the news from the past 15 years for you all in audio format. Today is March 9th, and it's Brawl's birthday here in the US of A. Now, the podcast is coming at you from the future, so please pardon any time paradoxes compared to the usual. The Max Frequency Podcast is up on Apple Podcasts for your iPhones to subscribe to, and you can check out MFP on Max Frequency at maxfrequency.net/MFP. Thanks to our wonderful special guest. So let's get this started and kick off this week's
Roundtable.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm your host, Max Roberts. Welcome to the Max Frequency Podcast, and if you couldn't tell from the introduction, things are a little different around here for this episode. We are celebrating the anniversary of Super Smash Bros. Brawl and the podcast that was kind of the whole hype. It was part of the hype machine behind Brawl. Show Me Your News. Now, Peter Spezia returning to the show. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Max.
How's it going?
I'm doing all right. It is both humbling and horrifying to hear such a loving tribute and also have it be 15 years since all of this has happened.
It's mind-blowing how time has worked. We were talking a little bit kind of during that intro. You were like, good job finding the music. I didn't find it. I took I think episode 16 or something. I just took an episode and used a computer audio software to strip the vocals out. And then me talking over it covers the muffled that's like behind it. So, because I mean,
it was basically a terrible MIDI of.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and I think it was someone like trying to interpret the song based on when it was used in the trailer early on. And so I'm like, I don't know how you're going to find a lost terrible MIDI to time, but yeah, that's a good clever way around it.
My original plan was, I was like, it's the Brawl theme. So I found like heavy metal or like electric guitar covers of it. And I was like, this will capture that spirit. But then I listened and I was just like, it doesn't feel quite right. And so I went down the software route and it just feels a little bit better.
Yeah, you did a great job. Otherwise, it's old internet. It's ancient internet, old YouTube. It's 2007. Like, you're not going to find it anymore.
I think I was really close. I found a channel and was like, based off this version or whatever. But then when I tried to find the one channel that was referenced, it's gone. And I was like, oh, that's truly gone, because you can't Wayback Machine that. Like, I was digging in old forum posts. I've done some serious Wayback Machine on the Smash boards.
Oh, I'm sure your research has been shockingly deep and thorough. But no, it's really nice to hear all those little things way back when we didn't necessarily know what podcasting was as a form. I mean, that's like early years of what a podcast was and could be. And so it's nice to hear, but also interesting to hear how long the medium has come along.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If the industry was the way it was today, Show Me Your News could have been bought by Spotify for $100 million.
Take that, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, that's right. Peter's out here blazing the trail, the path forward. So my thought for this episode, and you know this, Peter, but for listener, I wanted to take the timeline of Brawl and the game itself and kind of line it up with Show Me Your News and just kind of go through, because Brawl's the reason I'm here doing this today, and Show Me Your News is a part of that as well. I mean, my first videos on the internet were like card magic tricks, but that YouTube channel is, I'll never say that name out loud. You can find it. It's still up, but I'm not going to tell anyone. But eventually I would start Smashcast 13, which you can go look at, and I started the Smashcast.
Hello, you are now watching the Smashcast. I've decided to follow in the footsteps of Yoko and Rockstar 12 and create my own Smash Brothers Brawl news segment. For those who don't know who Yoko is, he is the head of Show Me Your News, which is a podcast, a weekly podcast that you can download at the iTunes store.
Not the original Smashcast. I was too naive to think to check if that name had been used anywhere else. But I started a video series, and then that would eventually go on to lead to a podcast, But Our Princess is in Another Castle, or Bopiak, which you actually guessed it on, and we've talked about that on previous episodes and in the past, and ultimately leads me here today. But Brawl and the excitement for it leads to Show Me Your News and your involvement, and wanted to get through that, but we got to start a little bit earlier. In 2005, at the Revolution reveal at E3, Iwata's up there, and he just goes,
"But I will tell you, we are already working on several Wi-Fi titles, each starring one of our key franchise characters. 1 or 2 Wi-Fi games will be ready for launch. And I am pushing our teams to make sure Smash Brothers is one of them." That way, no matter where Reggie is, I can always beat him.
Yeah, we're going to have Wi-Fi. It's going to be in there. And I'm pushing our teams to make sure Super Smash Brothers is there at launch for Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh, okay. And that was the same reaction Sakurai had, because Sakurai had no idea another Smash was in development. Turns out there wasn't a Smash in development. Iwata was using that to basically manipulate Sakurai into coming back and working on Smash Brothers.
That is some clever leverage from the late Satoru Iwata.
Oh my gosh. It's so, actually I wanted to read, I didn't have time today, but I wanted to go back and read that Iwata Ask interview between the two of them. I'm sure that has some great insight. But I mean, talk about pulling the strings, man. He's like, yep, Smash is coming. Now you will make it, Sakurai. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but everyone thought this would be Sakurai's last Smash, and then he goes on to make 3 more. I mean, 2, but, 3DS and Wii U, basically 2 different games. And then it's pretty quiet. Mum's pretty much the word until 2006, where we get the first trailer, which I've watched probably too many times in my life. As it's one of the great, I think it's one of the great trailers. Just the newcomer just slapped up beneath Meta Knight, Zero Suit Samus, Wario, Pit. People are like, who's Pit? What's a Pit?
Yeah.
It's just so good.
It's probably one of those ones that you can like recreate shot for shot in your head Like
yes.
Meta Knight comes in, and then with Pit's arrows, and Zero Suit Samus is in there somewhere, and you get the Wario fart joke at the end. And of course, like one of the best trailer stings of all time. Like incredible.
Oh my gosh. Where are you? Reconnaissance. You have to know your enemy to beat them. Oh, Snake. What? Oh my gosh. I tried actually looking up reactions to this trailer.
Oh, I just feel like reaction culture wasn't there, you know?
It wasn't. The only thing I could find, there was only one thing. See, this trailer wasn't a part of their E3 press conference that year.
Correct, yeah.
It was revealed to press at an after-hours event, which feels strange. Like, I feel like Smash should have been on stage, but they were doing Twilight Princess and Galaxy, I think. So I guess they just, I don't know, wanted Smash to have its own thing. Mm-hmm. But I did find one cell phone audio recording. I guess someone in the press was recording the reaction, and it's really crappy sound. But it's kind of like the first live reaction of Smash, and we ultimately will get to, you know, every Smash reaction since, with Everyone Is Here and like the Nintendo World Store, you know. But this trailer was kind of the first blow your mind hype with everything.
For sure. I remember watching it in college dorm room with a bunch of friends, and it was one of those things, like it was like 8 p.m. at night when it came out on Eastern time. And so like we're just gathering around a desktop computer monitor and watching it. So like, a different kind of reaction, but way before what we know for YouTube reactions today.
Yeah, but the excitement lingers. It's funny, in searching for reactions, I found new videos today of people reacting to old trailers, because I guess content never sleeps.
Sure.
But I just find that really funny that you can still go back and react to this. And, you know, I guess with Ultimate, the surprise isn't there as much, because you're like, well, of course they're there. They're in Ultimate. But anyway.
Yeah, it kind of feels a little inauthentic when you're not in the moment. But
right. Yeah, a little bit. A smidge. Surprise, Snake's in the game. But we would then, I think there's probably a little drip feed of news, maybe a press release mentioned anyway. But nothing really happens until May 14th, where the Smash Brothers site suddenly turned into a countdown. And it was counting down until the 22nd of May.
And we're like in 2007 now.
Oh, so yeah.
This is like almost a year later. Yeah.
Year later, May, countdown, the dojo starts. The birth of, I don't think there's ever been quite the hype machine like the dojo. Daily updates from the game director about one of the most anticipated games of its time. I think it's unprecedented to this day. I don't think anything's ever come close to capturing just the fervor around the game like the dojo.
And it was a degree of information that was revealed, because we'd see with Miiverse later for the Wii U and 3DS, it's like you're just coming out with a screenshot every weekday. Well, that's not giving you the information. Is it going to be a character reveal? Is it discussing a music track? Is it an item? Is it a whole new gameplay mechanic? It was really just rolling the roulette there, and you'd get 5 little nuggets there in a week, and it was remarkable. And I think maybe with Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, there was kind of some of that recaptured a little bit, but not to the degree that it was with Brawl. And I think you'd find video game historians online still look back at that fondly as an example for the industry, how you could just capitalize and monopolize that attention.
I talk to friends to this day who were in the dojo back then, and it's like every morning at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. when it refreshed, you were there and you talk about it at school all day. Like for 5 days a week, Brawl was the discussion. And it could have been here's how we use a Wiimote, which was, not great. Or it could have been, oh my gosh, Sonic's in the game. But that also was alongside of delay. So it's like you said, a roll of the dice. But the site is still up to this day. Nintendo still you can still go back to the original post. The only thing that's not intact is the music samples because they use Java.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But the images are there. The way he censored, hidden characters, and you'd have to say I accept to see the information so you could avoid spoilers. Like even Sakurai was spoiler conscious. It was. I think that's great that it's still up to this day. That's actually kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah, kudos to Nintendo for that.
Yeah. But we've arrived. We're getting ready for E3, which was in July of 2007. Feels a little weird to have E3 in July. But the middle of July was E3, and that's when Show Me Your News hits the internet, right before E3, July 8th of 2007. And I got to ask Peter, why? What led to you starting a podcast kind of, a month and a half after the dojo, and just what led? I don't know. Do you remember?
Well, so I think that, when I started to go to undergrad for sound engineering was my goal, but it started with electrical engineering. I was always, I've always been a kid of record your own radio shows and that kind of thing. Maybe that's just a 90s kid thing, and maybe it's something that's totally different today. But talking into a tape recorder or in a microphone that's plugged into your boombox that's recording on a cassette tape, I'm really dating myself. Anyway, but that was something I did as a kid. And so for me to study music and recording sounds and recording my voice, it was something that I wanted to do. Super Smash Brothers was certainly an interest, especially in my first year of college, living on a dorm floor of engineering nerds who were all into Super Smash Brothers Melee to some degree. And it's where I learn about the people play this game competitively. And so that kind of knowledge syncs up with the fact that, a new game's coming out and they're doing this wild thing with this website and it's getting involved in smashboards.com. And I don't know, it was a way also for me to kind of distract myself in a way, because I was going through a really deep personal struggle with anxiety and depression and things like that. Just a lot going on that sometimes from the greatest depths, you need some creative outlet to take your mind off of it and do something else. And I feel in a way that was the confluence of things of what birthed the idea of Show Me Your News, to do originally the Dojo podcast, but the Dojo. Let's turn the down 3 half steps is what that whole thing is. That's the trick. That's the secret. Everyone wants to know. No, nobody wants to know, but that's the trick. It's down 3 half steps. Anyway. Yeah. So that's, it comes from that, and, it got that ball rolling.
You did. And so going back for me, I came to Show Me Your News it was definitely around the roundtable time, because I don't remember. I may have listened to some that were you having the proper rundown where you wrote and recorded that and then talked with Panda afterward about stuff. But I really hadn't heard the first probably 7 to 10 episodes. Probably not. So I was actually a little surprised going back and listening to them to hear the structure of it all, because I'm familiar with the conversational show. And so what do you remember, like, why the original idea was like, I'm going to write it, record it, edit it in this like structure. There's sections and segments. Do you remember why that was the original concept?
I've always been a structured writer in general, like just kind of break it out into chunks. And it's like this, you're going to talk about this in this paragraph and this. That's just always, I think, the way I've thought about topics, and just kind of a way to have the inner monologue just kind of spew out that way, just very structured and rigid. And in a way, on the podcasts I still do today, like it's kind of led back to, you're going to have it outlined and you're going to have these little segments here. And maybe that's just how I go about things. So I mean, I remember, working at a Dick's Sporting Goods as a cashier, and even during the downtime, I'm like scribbling notes on a little notepad of like, this is what we could talk about for this, and then going back home and typing it out. Like, those are weird little memories I have. So I guess I've always just kind of been a very outlined, structured sort of thinker, but obviously the conversational element was absolutely the right way to go. And I feel like that's just a matter of not knowing what podcasts should be. But obviously you think of a podcast now, it's like, well, obviously it's some dumb grabbing a microphone and talking with his friends. Anybody could do a podcast, right? You're just talking. You're just having a conversation. Back then, not knowing necessarily what it was, you could be anything. It could be a structured, regimented news segment kind of discussion.
Yeah, and I think back then people didn't have the equipment like they would today, and or even the base level of equipment that we have today is miles better than Panda's $7 microphone, whatever that was. So I think that's an interesting comparison as well. But I actually, listening to those original runs, it immediately clicked with me all of the other stuff you've done since, like this is where it started. And so I see that in Original Sound Chat and, what Show Me Your News would go on to become since then. So like, yeah, I get it. I think even it's been a very long time since I've seen an episode of, WTF Pokemon, but I recall structure in that as well. And that was you and your brother. So it's interesting to see the origins.
Yeah, and even that was like hitting bullet points, and you're improvising off bullet points, but it's still segmented and rigid in that way, with a little bit of room for going wild and reacting in a way.
Yeah. So we get about a month-ish later, I think it's episode 7. That's the first time Samurai Panda's on the show, and he had a Brawl Viewpoint. I honestly forget what the Viewpoint was. I could go back and find it. I have the clip saved. I think it was about like moving on from Melee or in some capacity. I think.
Brawl Viewpoint. Thanks, Yoko. My name on the boards is Samurai Panda, and many of you listening have probably heard of me because of my translation thread or my much more recent character attacks thread. I'm here to talk to you today about the balance in Brawl, what I expect and why I expected. Let me just apologize for the quality of my microphone. I don't quite sound as good as Yoko, but then again, no one really does.
And what stands out to me from the very beginning of the show was you had a focus on community. You had the viewpoints where people could call in, send you an audio recording in whatever file formats were acceptable back then, or 1.5 to 2 pages single spaced, and you would read it out. And you would read these things, or eventually Sariku would have the Who's In section. So you would let this kid come in and contribute to the show, and eventually would let people from the Smashboards introduce. You had a community focus and mindset, and that actually opens the door for Panda and the next iteration of Show Me Your News and what it become. Today, community makes so much sense. It almost feels obvious, just like anyone could pick up and start a podcast. But I feel like it wasn't like obvious back then. I wouldn't think. So I'm just How did you have that mindset, and why was it so important for you to include the community in Show Me Your News?
It would be because of Smashboards.com as a nexus where episodes would be posted, where they'd be discussed. And when you're talking about the idea of forums in general, once again, as you and I both know, a dated concept, because social media has not hit it big yet. Mm-mm. Obviously today it's like the conversation is around social media and Twitter today. Now we got what other platforms? You got your TikTok, Instagram, etc. But Facebook was only a year or two old at that time, and
I think you guys even mentioned MySpace, like in a very serious manner.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was granted, MySpace is nadir at that point, but still. But yeah, so social media wasn't a well-established entity online, and so for it to be a part of Smashboards, a forum for fans of Super Smash Brothers, there would be names that would comment on things, and you'd establish relationships there. And for those that even wanted to contribute, it was a matter of who could. Mm-hmm. Who at that time had a microphone that they had the flexibility to speak into and record and send. We speak of these things as they're obvious and natural today, but it wasn't then, much less, to find someone passionate enough to type up that 1 to 2 page to kind of keep the length at a reasonable brevity. But I think that was what it was. It was to get the conversation going and keep it going about the game that obviously we were all passionate about, but also a matter of who could contribute, who had the means to contribute. And it definitely created some special relationships from all of that.
Yeah. So you move to the University of Michigan. I think you added this because I don't think I would have known that you were there for your sophomore year.
Yeah.
But it's that first weekend in September, and I only know that because you said it on the podcast. But serendipitously, that's where Samurai Panda, Alan, went to school as well, working on pre-med and Japanese studies. So I guess just because you guys go to the same school, you're aware of each other because of the boards and the show, you go on to meet at some, I think, local tournament.
Yeah.
You apparently wore a shirt that said like Yoko and then had the next episode number on it or something.
Sure did. I only just got rid of that, and it's sad.
Wait,
but
you
it's
really?
like
You still had it?
I still had it, and
that's
15.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's also like 15 years this time. It's fine.
Sure,
you got to do some trimming at some point. It is kind of cool. You had a printed out black and white photo duct taped onto a shirt. It was ridiculous. But I think Serendipitous is right. I mean, Alan, Samurai Panda, was a notable name at that time for translating things that Sakurai would say in Japanese and kind of reiterating that, reinterpreting that for a rabid American audience. And so he had a cachet on that forum. And for him to attend the same school as I did, because the show started in the summer break between my freshman and sophomore year, so I'm moving in back to school at the dorm once again. And how do we meet up? Well, local tournaments happening, and it was a time before texting. It sounds so silly and so old. It's like, well, obviously just text them that you're going to be. No, that wasn't the thing. So how do I'll be dressed in this way. You won't miss me. So, and then we talked for a long time and it clicked.
It did. You guys talk about that on the finale. That clicking of talking and the relationship there between the two of you. But this is the birth of the round table, which is that conversational discussion format. It sounds like it was Alan had the idea for it. It was like he can record it. And so I wanted to talk about, I guess, the shift from the roundtable was still structured, maybe a bit more loosely for two college students, but you had sections. There were the big three, and you guys would rate it. There's still a flow and structure there, but it sounds like you were putting hours and hours into the rundown and just that show, and switching to the roundtable was a bit more. It was less time commitment for you, but then the show got longer. So I don't know if that really evened out for you.
Yeah, in a way. And, you and I both doing podcasts today, you may have picked up on, but also may be appalled to know that there was no editing that podcast.
Well, there was some. You would add like music beneath or modulate Panda's voice, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah, for the structure of the show. But you and I both, as we edit podcasts today, are meticulous and we'll listen through the whole thing again. And if things need to be taken out, take out some dead air, take out some stumbles, you would do that kind of thing. That is natural. These podcasts that go on for hours, we're like, all right, we're done recording, patch it up, throw it in, do the music bit and send it out as soon as possible because there is an eager audience and we can't be taking days to edit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so funny. Some of this stuff, just some of the moments and interactions and like do we move on to this or what tangent did Panda just take us on?
Yeah. And you would never have that today. Never have that today in a podcast. But like, again, you don't know. The format is so new.
Yeah. But I think that was part of the allure of Show Me Your News was that conversation and relationship between the two of you and whoever you brought on the show. There was Gimpy Fish, Buzzsaw, all those, Sugar Poultry in the background behind Buzz. Everyone's coming in and talking, and it just felt like friends hanging out, all talking about the same thing. And I think that's part of what that community really wanted was just more people to talk with or listen to talk about Smash Brothers, and that it's probably one of the smartest moves like the show could have ever made was pivoting to that format.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And obviously we've seen I'm not going to say necessarily the success of that, but how that format works so well that's become what podcasts are. Like that's obviously what it is today. And so to kind of stumble upon that in a weird backwards way, sure worked out. Yeah.
It did. I'm curious if you even remember, how did you record that show? Because there was a to again the podcast editor's ears, a noticeable dip in audio quality.
Yeah,
obviously doesn't impact the enjoyment of the conversation in the show. But I was like, Peter, when he's doing the rundown, he has a nicer recording setup than what it sounds like. My guess is it's software on Panda's computer that was recording the Skype call. Is that accurate?
Whether or not it may have been my computer, but it was MP3 Skype recording software. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And there were limits. Again, it's not like it was today where
right.
You could both record, and as high a quality as you want to and send it to each other and have it download so quickly, and then you edit. Now, it was, for the simplicity, it was, just a simple Skype recording, and there were probably even bitrate limits on that, so that's why it would sound so terrible. Compared to, I was recording on an M Audio Nova microphone, which was a phantom-powered condenser microphone that, just needed XLR to go into a sound interface, which was, way more than anybody else would have had reasonably at the time. So yeah, you record that directly in a computer. That's going to sound a lot better than software that just kneecaps the audio quality. So, even USB microphones, I feel like, there you go. Yeah.
Is that what it
looked
like?
In the show notes. Yeah, it sure did. So check that out in the show notes there. That's that microphone. It was $100 microphone, which again seemed like a lot at the time, but now not so much when you have other microphones of quality. But yeah, even still, USB microphones that were just plug and play were pretty foreign at the time. I think a lot of those microphones, the most you could hope for is plugging into the mic jack.
Oh, on the PC. Oh my god, that's
yeah,
probably what
that
Pandas
green,
was.
Honestly, yes.
Why did you have that microphone? Was it the music, like a music thing that you just then adapted to podcasting?
Yeah, so it was pursuing that sound engineering route, wanting to go. I mean, if you wanted to capture music, like you're going to go for like what you could reasonably get as like the better / best microphones at the time, within reason, of course. But
Right.
That was really what it was. And so I was just fortunate enough to have a good recording setup for that.
Yeah, you really it reminds me of Robert Ashley, who does the show A Life Well Wasted. I don't know if you've ever listened to that.
Mm-mm.
But he kind of had a bunch of music equipment because he's in a band. And he was like, I could like record interviews with this stuff too, and it would go on to make that show and that sort of stuff too. So it just seemed like interests lined up, and you could use the same thing kind of between the two.
Yeah.
So is that how you also recorded the Yoko Unplugged, like your music stuff?
Absolutely. And I think that was just a kind of a continued form of the interest, right?
Yeah.
So I play guitar. I like doing that. Let's pursue that and channel that in a different way. So
yeah,
that was fun.
So back to Brawl. Dojo updates, Show Me Your News is going along. Things are great. Some weeks are better than others. All sorts of stuff. But then we get, as Show Me Your News dubbed it, the delay-o doom of October. Sorry, I guess Reggie was wrong.
Yes, the Smash community is stoked. But when? Well, not next year, not next spring. I can announce today that Smash Brothers Brawl will launch in the Americas on December 3rd.
Most of the boards, however, did not buy this kind of crap and just accepted the fact that our dear Brawl is delayed. Obviously, the overall reaction was negative, and who could blame them? Reggie Fils-Aimé looks like an absolute fool and liar now because several of his quotes from E3 have turned out to be lies.
Reggie, the fool and
Savage. Savage.
And I like this.
Honestly, if anybody should be angry at the Big N and Sakurai, it should be me. I mean, could you imagine me finding out that I have 2 more months of Show Me Your News left to do? When I started this project, I didn't imagine it stretching to 2008 at all, but Sakurai has given me that much more work.
And then he gave me many, many, many more years.
Many years. Oh my gosh. It's so fun. Hearing you go 2 more months, I'm like, Show Me Your News is going to go on for years, Peter. Years.
You're the one who does not know crap.
Oh my gosh. It was so funny to go back and hear that, just that whole take. Because I feel like at the time, both of us, and I think most people, had no idea really about game development and that process. Today, I'd be like, delay it. Take all the time you need, Sakurai. Rest. Take a nap.
And certainly that comes from a time of ignorance and not knowing much about video games. So like, yeah, definitely cringing to hear that. Part of the thing, if anyone who does podcasts will know, is that you say something into a microphone and then it's immediately out of your memory.
Yep.
And so I have not gone back to listen to old shows like that for very good reasons, I think.
It's been a real trip for me. So this delay happens. According to the Wikipedia and I think a press release, October 11th, Nintendo of America gives a date of February 10th, I want to say. Sometime in that early window of February was the North American release date of Brawl. Europe didn't have a date, and I think Japan was December, if not early January. I know it ultimately is January for Japan, but it's delayed. But to ease the blow, we get, again, one of probably the most hype reveals in Smash history. Sonic confirmed for Brawl. I mean, it was like for anyone who wasn't there listening to this, whoever, you look at the Ultimate roster and like, well, who cares? Cloud's in it, Bayonetta, Sephiroth, like it's, who cares? But back then, Sonic was the pinnacle ask Like, you couldn't. Mario vs. Sonic was the debate that people wanted to have in Smash and act it out. And, like, dreams came true that day. What do you remember about the Sonic trailer and reveal? Or confirmation, really. Everyone thought Sonic was going to be in the game.
Yeah, I mean, especially after the EGM rumor with Sonic and Tails and Melee and April Fools. This is how you do it. We're also 10 years removed from Sega being a player in the console hardware space with Dreamcast. So not to mention on top of that, the years before of it's Nintendo versus Sega, the rivalry, and like Mario versus Sonic. And that's a big moment, but yeah, certainly a blow with the delay. Of course, a delay of a couple months is not a big deal today, but when you don't know any better, it feels momentous. For all the blur that 15 years ago was, there was a time. Again, you listen to the episodes and maybe you know better than I when I regale the story, but there was a time where we were waking up from like a fire alarm at school at like 2 a.m. and was it this update that like I came back to and saw that this is what happened? It was either that or something else, big like that. So yeah, I don't know.
I have it because I saved the audio clip.
Was it real menus items?
That episode seems to have been episode 12, which is Snake Online. Bro!
Oh, Wi-Fi. Online.
It was
Yep.
3 fire alarms led to an evacuated dorm the morning of the online update.
Yes.
So,
but I feel like it was something big like that. But still seeing that announcement is earth shattering. Obviously, for that kind of character, we know about Snake, but yeah, third party crossovers are just a very new idea for Super Smash Brothers, and obviously we didn't know what it would become.
I'll stay on the third-party characters, but I want to come back to online. It's funny, after Sonic, the discussions are like, well, who else could be in, The community was dying for Ridley, which I just found hilarious in hindsight. I mean, everyone was like, Ridley's in, his music's in the game. Oh, but Ridley's a boss in Subspace, but he could still be a fight. Like, everyone was looking for confirmation or deconfirmation in whatever they could find. But the third-party fighters... And it's so crazy to listen to now. You guys talk about Mega Man, Pac-Man. Panda goes, Pac-Man would be he calls it a WTF character. Because Pac-Man won't sell, but Pac-Man would be cool. Hello? Cloud, Sephiroth, you mentioned them. Sora is mentioned. And it's just like, Gino. I mean, even Gino, which was a huge Brawl rumor at the time, not a fighter in the game, but now is a Mii costume. Like, these would be ideas and hopes and dreams that wouldn't be fulfilled for 10, 13 years. But it was all started because of Sonic and Snake. I think it's so cool.
They listen to the community. I'm not going to say, Masahiro Sakurai listened to my podcast. Obviously not. But, they listen to the community at large. And, when it came to making the ultimate Smash Brothers game, they did the thing over the course of several games.
I remember wanting, I think Roxas was who I wanted in Smash Brothers at the time. But listening to, there's even a whole viewpoint about why Kingdom Hearts should be in Smash. And just hearing that now, knowing, Sora was the final character to be added, I was frankly a little stunned. It just felt so cool to finally know. It's like, if you could go back and tell, I don't even remember the user, whoever came up with the Kingdom Hearts viewpoint, but just go back and say, it's true. Just wait 12 years. It's awesome to find it. And I went back and watched like the Mega Man reveal for Smash for Wii U, that trailer, which is that gives the birth to the whole, what we would go on to have the reveal trailers of psyching everyone out. It was like, oh, what is it?
That one was awesome for sure.
Yeah, Mega Man on the cliff in the helmet. Oh, so good. Oh. I could talk about all the Smash character reveals forever, but
yeah, oh my gosh, yes, for sure.
It's all kicked off with Snake and Sonic.
And you look back at the Sonic trailer, considering what Masahiro Sakurai did with character reveal trailers, that Sonic trailer is nothing.
Oh yeah.
It's some basic text to live and learn in there, and obviously the quality was increased, but back then, wild stuff.
Yeah, if we go and you think about it, stuff like the Subspace Emissary really paved the cinematic way for his reveal trailers later on. Actually,
yes, yeah.
One of a question in a Q&A episode of Show Me Your News was like, would you guys want a Smash anime or movie? Which I guess we're getting a little taste of it in the Super Mario Brothers movie here. There's like that Smash Brothers Donkey Kong kind of scene.
The Super Smash Brothers extended universe possibly beginning.
Sure. But the Subspace kind of paves the way for these bonkers reveal trailers. You mean, oh my gosh, the Duck Hunt switch out for it was Banjo-Kazooie and King K. Rool, right? The two. No, it was DDD was King K. Rool, right?
Right. The King K. Rool trailer then was replicated with the Banjo-Kazooie trailer.
Oh
yeah.
Gosh,
but like this is all Sakurai's idea, and like I went and talked about Super Smash Bros. Melee for my current podcast, Original Sound Chat, and to learn that Sakurai was the one who storyboarded that amazing opening sequence for Super Smash Bros. Melee. So like he's got the cinematic mind about him, and so like you can see that's his ideas for sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. Since we're talking about it, I don't know we'll stick with the Subspace for a second. At the time, I probably thought it was super dope to have all these characters. I don't remember a whole lot about it now. What do you remember about the Subspace?
Just the weird cutscene moments. The gameplay wasn't too much to write home about. You're beating up some of those weird enemy types and getting little items there. It's something I'm going to eventually be replaying at some point in the near future, which I'll be interested to see what I think of that. But yeah, I it's just the big moments, right? And of course, it's what Sakurai reflects on and says, those being leaked on YouTube and ruining moments for people is kind of why I never did anything like Subspace again. And that's a little sad, right? Yeah. But, Snake meeting Zelda and Peach, the R-Wings coming to battle the Halberd, like wild stuff. And then Taboo and Sonic and what? Like, just great stuff.
I remember Rob being like the minister or whatever he was.
The ancient minister. Yeah.
Deep cuts.
Uh-huh.
So
sure.
You apparently hated Petey Piranha. I've heard that discussion. This is actually, I have this clip. This is pretty good. This is what you thought about Subspace before it came out. This was pre-release.
Now, this mode is going to cement Brawl as one of the best games ever created.
Yeah.
I think we were all super hungry for story and narrative and just more Smash, whatever it could have been. And I think Subspace is pretty dope. And actually, I mean, we're recording this in advance, but my plan is to stream the Subspace actually on, it would have been yesterday if you were listening to this the day it came out. I couldn't do it on the anniversary. My parents were coming into town. So the night before the anniversary, I'm going to stream Subspace is my plan, assuming the house is compliant. So please, Eloise, please behave yourself so I can stream this very old game for fun. But I'm excited to visit it again, and it's cool to hear that you're going to visit it again soon too, because I've played it once and I haven't touched it, because that was how I unlocked all the characters. I think that's how most people probably did.
Yeah, on launch night. And I maybe have played it one time since, but it was only like a couple years after, but yeah, not since. It's been easily more than 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So eventually, the rest of the year, there was an E4All event where the public got their hands on Smash for the first time. Gimpy Fish apparently had pages and pages of notes. He was writing forum posts. You guys had him on the show to talk about it. And, the community was just more and more hungry. The updates kind of start not being as fun because a lot of that information came from E4All. So then there was this disconnect of, well, we already know this. Where's the new? But we get to Brawl's Japanese release eventually. And then the internet, so Subspace, like you mentioned, that stuff leaks online. The full roster is revealed. All the stages, like the game, everything known about the game hits the internet. And before we kind of get back to the end of Show Me Your News' original sort of run, or incarnation, I should say, let's talk about some of the final stuff here with Smash, which the roster, 35 characters, conveniently timed up with 35 episodes of Show Me Your News. It's actually really weird to see 35, and we used to think that was a lot in comparison to Ultimate's 82 fighters, which is just
staggering.
The thing was balance back then, and I can't imagine balancing 82 characters today. I guess Steve is broken, but beyond that, I mean, Meta Knight was broken in Brawl, so every game has to have one. Bayonetta was Smash for Wii U and 3DS, so every game has one. But what do you think about the 35 here, the Brawl 35?
For it to go from 25 to 35 is, monumental. Mm-hmm. Granted, it wasn't the doubling up, from 12 to 25 from Smash 64 to Melee, but still a good amount of new characters and really some interesting character concepts. Now, you'd have some of the characters that were lost along the way, and that's a little sad, unfortunately. But also things like, just looking through, you were nice enough to post the screenshot to just be a little refresher.
I needed a refresher so bad.
Yeah, but Toon Link, and there's always the wistfulness of, you had all of the great effects, but what could have been? Could you have used some, weapons from Wind Waker? Mm-hmm. That could have been really neat. Wolf is, I guess, another Star Fox clone. Sure. But granted, I mean, ideas like Snake and Sonic and Pit was a whole new thing. The multiple jumping with the wings and the gliding and all of that. Like, it's nice to see this roster, but also, with hindsight, it's incredible what Super Smash Bros. Ultimate pulled off with everyone is here, because you do think about the characters like Roy and Dr. Mario, and they aren't there, are they? Pichu,
Ice Climbers,
Young Link, Ice Climbers, because
because they were cut
make that work.
They were cut in the next iteration. Sorry, 3DS.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can't make that run with them, especially if you do multiple of those. Yeah.
I look at this, and maybe it's because I'm back in 2007 and 8 listening to the show the past few weeks, but the clones, or I guess now today they'd be called Echo Fighters.
Right.
The clones were kind of mostly cut and replaced with some new characters, whether they were new ideas or just ones people wanted, like a Wario, I think people really wanted, or King DDD or Meta Knight, those types of things. But I look at this and go, wow, Rob, what a deep cut to bring a Famicom accessory and turn that into a character so strange, so funky. I remember really enjoying Rob. Olimar, picking the Pikmin out of the ground and throwing those around, so frankly unique even to this day in Smash. And then Pokemon Trainer, 3 characters in one.
Of course, yeah.
Just total hype. Lucas, the only time Mother 3's ever been acknowledged in North America, and was revealed before Ness, which then led the community to think Ness isn't in the game because their movesets are so similar-ish in that way. It's just, what an interesting time. There was a debate around Samus, Zero Suit Samus. What does that mean for Zelda and Sheik? Are they 2 characters? Are they 1? There's so, really, I guess it's 36 characters because Zero Suit Samus is hidden behind the Samus, vein there. Ike replacing Roy for a more heavy Fire Emblem sword wielder. Now half of Ultimate's roster is Fire Emblem characters, but you know, at the time it was interesting. So I think there was more experimentation here than we had seen in Melee. I think the doubling up in Melee with clones and things like that, while beloved characters, that had its limits and explained, you know, probably part of why it was so rushed was like Mario, Dr. Mario. They're different.
Yeah. And also interesting to see things like leaning into Twilight Princess for the Zelda design, because that was what was recent on Wii. Separating Zelda and Sheik, breaking those out into two characters. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I watched the Everyone Is Here trailer today, and so you see Zelda, and it's like this is a Link Between Worlds or a Link to the Past style Zelda compared to a more Ocarina of Time Sheik. I was like, oh, now they've differentiated them, but it was a heavy lean into the Twilight Princess aesthetic. Wario is WarioWare. Toon Link is brought in to replace Young Link as a tie to Wind Waker, and what else was coming out at that time? Phantom Hourglass, and then Ultimate Spirit Tracks. So those games, you know, interesting. Galaxy really didn't get any representation, which that was kind of
probably just too close. Yeah.
So that was interesting. There were the Kirby games, of course, and Pikmin, I guess, just was new because there was no Wii Pikmin game. They did port 1 and 2, but none of that. And Mother 3, like we said, Snake, Sonic, Lucario, Gen 4 Pokemon representation.
Right. Yeah.
So it's an interesting time capsule of what Nintendo had going on. Sonic and Mario at the, I want to say Beijing Olympics, I think it was.
Yeah, the 08 game, yeah.
Yeah, so there was that kind of world melding there. So then there's the stages, which I feel like I'm actually a little surprised I can identify most of these by their thumbnail. I guess that just is a testament to how much I played this game. I'm sure you can too.
Of course, yeah.
And it's so smaller than I remember. It's a smaller list. And my
then you
brain
have like the
remembers
second
it so infinite.
page.
Yeah, there is a second page of the old stages, which is, you know, cool, and then custom stages, of course, which were the hacker's dream, I suppose. But the Brawl stages, I feel like there's some like absolute classics in here, man.
Some stone cold classics, some terrible stages, and also some notable omissions.
You know, like Electroplankton. What an odd stage, but cool. It's a PictoChat, funky.
PictoChat is great, and I'm kind of I do like PictoChat. That's probably one of the better stages in Brawl. I think New Pork City terrible.
But the music for New Pork City pretty fire. Like the Mother selection.
Yeah. And another terrible stage, but great music. Rumble Falls. Awful stage. But, you know, that cover, Bramble Blast, is one of the standouts all time for Brawl's soundtrack, for sure.
The birth of Smashville, like, which would pave the way for Animal Crossing. I think, I want to say Lilac. Is it Lilac Cruise is the Star Fox stage?
Oh, sure is, yeah.
That's a great one. Norfair, which was finally a fairly decent Metroid stage. But then also you have, oh my gosh, it's the beginning of Metroid Prime, which just came out. What was that stage called?
Oh, Frigate Orphean.
I want to say Fandom Drifts, but I'm like, no, that's not a snowy level. You know, Bridge of Eldin, Delfino Plaza. But then you got stuff like Mushroomy Kingdom with it.
Mario Bros. And 75M and just a lot of weird stuff. Halberd's great.
Legendary. Absolute legendary. Shadow Moses. More than really fighting. It's Flat Zone 2. It's just I think it's a really good selection and representation of the roster. It feels there's some funky stuff like outside of the roster completely, but then there's some good representation. Where's Pokemon Stadium 2? There it is. Pokemon Stadium 2 is like, well, Pokemon Stadium 1 was better. And it's in the game too, to be fair. In those retro stages.
those retro stages. I mean, it began the longing for Fountain of Dreams, and how that didn't show up again until Ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, which is you say that, and it just blows my mind that that's even fact, but it's true. It's interesting. Is this true? I'm looking at this. I'm double checking myself. Are these all Melee stages?
Yes. Well,
or is that Kirby one?
Yeah, the Kirby one. So
I can't tell because I don't know if it has the extra stuff off to the side.
Or is it like is it green? So that's a good question. I'd see 15 years is a long time.
The core. No, wait, that's the GameCube version. Never mind. These may be all GameCube stages with maybe one exception. Interesting that they didn't tap into Smash 64 for this game so much in the stage. But you could then ultimately, I guess, make your own version of those stages. It's a good list. I don't think just seeing this roster or selection of stages is just like, it takes me back. And I'm sure if I looked at Melee's stage select screen, it would do the same thing. But what an interesting, diverse selection. Yeah, what a diverse. Yeah, I look at Ultimates and I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I even begin? There's something pure about it being, streamlined, stripped down, simpler. I guess we're just old. Oh my gosh. The soundtrack, Peter. 300 songs, apparently, was the final number. You had this to say about the soundtrack before it came out. Let's see if this holds up.
But there is definitely one big problem. The synthesized nature of the song samples so far. I'll put it right out there, and I think I'm speaking for the music enthusiasts as a whole here. When the final build of this game is released, these songs need to be fully orchestrated. The well-done MIDIs that we're hearing now just won't cut it.
Did the soundtrack cut it, Peter?
The soundtrack did cut it. Again, let's chalk this up to cringe and ignorance of ignorance of game development, honestly, because you only had so much space on the Wii disc. This was tapping into streaming files, of course. So it's not really MIDIs, but I think it's whether it was kind of harkening back to, how the track sounded, or whether that was with Love or with what instruments that they had available at the time to work on. Yeah, not everything is like Mario Galaxy where you just chalk up a whole orchestra and devote all that time and resources. Granted, Brawl's soundtrack ultimately inspired me to talk about video game music on my podcast original sound chat available on podcast services, because it's just that anthology of Nintendo music and history, and what they did was remarkable. And I would even think about when people did Brawl hacking and customizing and learning about how all of those files were structured and what they were all named and substituting, and oh my god, it's a time and rabbit hole. So yeah, Brawl's soundtrack cut it. It set the standard for my music, and bringing in remixers across the Japanese game music industry. And let's chalk that one up to big lack of knowledge of game development.
It's believe me, some of the stuff I've said on recorded shows in the past is also chalked up to complete and total ignorance. This soundtrack was definitely the first one I remember putting on my iPod at the time. I remember before launch downloading all of the tracks off of the Dojo and just listening to those over and over, hearing, however long those versions were at the time. I think there are some just flat out absolute bangers on the soundtrack. Halberd, actually the whole Kirby selection in that game is killer. The Brawl theme, the choir, it's so good, man.
Consulting Nobuo Uematsu for that? Are you kidding? The Final Fantasy composer? Unreal.
This was my first real exposure to a lot of Sonic music. I love the version of Sonic Boom on here, and
I mean that's the classic. That's not remixed at all, but yeah, a great choice from Sonic CD, and I think is the American version, yeah, because it's Toot Sonic Warrior. You can do anything for the Japanese version, but yeah, just taking that straight up. The Angel Island remix is insane with Jun Senoue on that one. So good.
The Zelda music in this game is what is it? The Bridge of Eldin music, whatever that. I don't know if that was the name of the song. This soundtrack defined video game soundtracks for me in a way that I hadn't. I mean, I liked video game music. I probably, bopped my head along to Pokemon, Pokemon battle music or what have you. But this kind of put video game music on the map for me in a way of, I can just listen to this and appreciate this for it as music, not as something kind of in the background of a level of or a battle, but something that stands on its own. And I mean, you look at Smash Brothers now, which I believe is mostly fully orchestrated nowadays, and the same legacy of bringing in these guest composers like you talked about. I mean, Yoko Shimura did Gritzy Desert. I don't even know what that is. Was that a Mario thing? That's a Mario.
I think it's a Mario and Luigi.
Yeah. So, gosh, Yoko Shimura's incredible. I'm like scrolling through this list now because it's still on my iPod, on my phone. There's melodies and arrangements all over the place. Versus Ridley. This is where I learned that Metroid music had narration in some of it, and it turns out that was like the Japanese stuff. King Dedede's theme, which is another Yoko Shimura.
The gourmet race, yeah.
So good. And Dedede's theme would go on to be Bapiak's song, because we just took the Show Me Your News introduction style and put our own song beneath it, because that's how we did things. It's just... the soundtrack warms my heart. It really does. I still put it on every now and then. It's so good.
It's very special, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we talk about kind of the launch of the game itself, I think we have to talk about one element of Brawl. Tripping, slipping, ink dropping, as it was known at E4All.
Mm-hmm.
Why, Sakurai? Why?
Probably the sign of, we should have taken that this probably wasn't going to be as competitive of a game based on, Sakurai's design influence. And, that was probably a sign of the things to come. Granted, it's interesting to look back at it now and not knowing that there would be more Super Smash Brothers games. But when this was the next one, and Melee versus Brawl was the whole thing, definitely a red X in Brawl's corner.
Oh my gosh, it's still talked about today. I think, like, if you talk to a Smash player or community and you bring up Brawl, it's like tripping. God, why is this in there?
And it's slower. It's so much slower.
It's so slow. It's just so. There was so much conversation at the time too about this was a new physics engine with Havoc, and what does this all mean? I think you could jump off characters' heads and stuff now.
Oh yeah,
it was so much talking about the physics, and since no one could get their hands on the game until E4All, and even then that was a limited few in the hardcore community. It was all speculation at the time. It was like, and you just had to hope it was going to replace Melee and be this next great thing. And turns out it's slow as molasses and was more welcoming to the Wii's wider audience, which from a business perspective, I think makes perfect sense. And it was the right sort of move. And ultimately, as we'll talk here at the end, kind of paves the way for Smashes to come and kind of come out of this gameplay dark age of slower, random slipping elements and things. But it has to be marked that slipping, ink dropping, which is so funny to hear that term thrown around again today. But it was there. So, it wasn't all glitz and glamour.
Mm-hmm.
But that Japanese launch leads to you guys going to a local game store in Michigan, University of Michigan, and actually playing the game in Japanese. And I think everyone was jealous of you. I think your entire audience was jealous of you guys because you got to play early.
I feel like it was also a moment of the times where we wanted so badly to capture that gameplay footage and like upload it to YouTube, and that technology just wasn't there. I'll say it again. It just wasn't there. Everyone talks about like capture card streaming, obviously, but like streaming there was stickam.com.
Yeah.
Do you remember stickam.com? Like very few people do.
I remember it. I actually found a tutorial I made about how to set it up.
Mm-hmm. But so like the idea of capturing video like that was so foreign, and yeah, we would have obviously loved to have done that, but the audio of that, I guess, sufficed, and that'd be weird to go back and listen to, I'm sure. But yeah, no, it was nice to have connections like that at a major university, to have someone who had a tap into the Japanese game market and was able to make that happen. That was again fortuitous.
It was. You really couldn't have asked for a better moment in the final lead up to the American release. It was like this taste, this hit. After 30-something episodes, the people that were talking about Brawl the most publicly and engaging with the community so directly finally got their hands on it and could then report back. And listening to that episode, it's so clear. It sounds like you guys played it just a few hours prior to recording. Like you guys are coming off of it. Like there's just a fervor and an excitement of, we actually got to play. You guys are talking about matches you had and like Meta Knight this and Pit that, and just this reveling in the new. And I think that's kind of something almost lost today in this world of streaming and social media, where I can go watch a video of a new game getting ready to come out, and I get a good sense for it, and it's in 4K and all this stuff. But back then it was all cell phone or little point and shoot camera recordings. It's just like, what color is that? I can't really tell. So like the only way to truly know what a game was like was really hands-on experience.
And it was our take on amateur game reporting, in a way, being little game journalists.
Yeah, you were some of the first, first people like in the wider general community outside of official press to really play the game. You guys even like joke about Matt Casamassina at IGN because you guys would like watch every video that came out, and like Panda was like, those guys suck at Smash. It was just so it was so great, and it's one of my favorite episodes. It's just, you can tell the excitement's there, it's captured, and it's something that still translates to this day, but to the audience's ears.
Yeah, there are definitely some fond memories to that. But yeah, I mean, when I look back at it and knowing the technology now and the route I would go down to go into video production, I'm just so sad at what was available for consumers, prosumers at the time. It just wasn't there. And yeah, video streaming has come such a long way, but we were in the dark ages, so to speak. But we tried to, make the most of it and try to appeal and report back to a hungry audience for sure.
Yeah, it's a great time. So, I mean, really that kind of brings us up to the end of, I guess, what you dubbed season 2. It may have been season 3. I think season 2 of Show Me Your News. And, it was weekly up to that point. You guys didn't miss a week, which I think was probably super rare at that time for a show to not miss its weekly cadence. The consistency was there. And then you guys were going to move in together the following year into an apartment together or whatever. And then Show Me Your News then went monthly, and you guys kept it kind of alive. Why keep it going?
I feel like at a certain point, like you enjoy it so much and you just don't want the conversations to end. I feel like something similar was said at the time, but granted, there were still conversations about Smash to be had, but even as I was getting exposed to video games more in general, besides, Super Smash Brothers, they were things that I wanted to talk about. And so it was kind of a way to explore those passions and possibly in new ways, which may or may not have been successful. But I think it was just to kind of keep the friendships, the conversations going. Could it be possible to turn it into something more? Ultimately, beyond my college years, Show Me Your News got me my adult real job. And like the connection, putting that website on my resume for prospective employers to check out, like that made everything possible for my professional career. It wasn't exactly in the way I thought it was going to be, but it's opened so many doors and avenues for me. And so for all the different shows I've done, whether it was did we talk about WTF Pokemon? Yeah, the aforementioned WTF Pokemon, my original sound chat show that I still do today, even a show I did called The Power Switch was another way of experimenting with what could be done with the podcast format, tapping into Discord in 2017, again, before its mass adoption today.
You definitely have been a trendsetter.
In a way, not to a very successful degree. I think still Show Me Your News was like the brightest spot of the 15 minutes of fame, so to speak. And for such a niche audience, it was probably a couple years ago. I was walking somewhere with my fiance and we overheard someone say, "Who would ever want to talk about Super Smash Brothers?" And it was just the funniest thing. It's like, yes, who would ever want to talk about Super Smash Brothers? It's just one of those weird little niche things. But yeah, to continue podcasting and working in media, that's all from Show Me Your News and Super Smash Brothers Brawl.
It's pretty incredible, honestly. The show would go on for eventually, I haven't looked back at the total timeline, like straight out of Brawl, but into its regular cadence. I mean, the show essentially went on through 2015, right?
Yeah, it went on to become a video game news podcast through different iterations. I do a video game award show.
Yeah.
In a time where the VGX show was going and being weird before the Keeleys, the game awards. But yeah, doing like musical numbers and things like that, crazy aspirational productions that, just trying new things always with that show. Streaming I think in the years before streaming became big, like I was streaming in 2008 live episodes of Show Me Your News.
Yeah, I found some of those video episodes with you and Panda. I assume, that's super early. No one was really doing that.
And that, wasn't that successful. That took a whole lot of production. And but again, like it's trying new things. Yeah.
And you had the ability to. I mean, so the original run of Show Me Your News would go on for 185 episodes. All in all, it looks like here in my podcast player. Would then ultimately, I guess I didn't intend to use that word, but ultimately would come back as SMYN Ultimate in 2018, leading up to Smash Bros. Ultimate. I actually was on that show.
You were.
Point. I was, which was a dream come true, for multiple reasons. But finally, to be on that show with you, Tony, and Super, talk about it. We're still, all four of us we've never met in person, but technically all four of us have a match in that episode that we said I think we had a tier list or something of like who we would play as. And like, we were like, we got to recreate this if we ever meet up. So someday,
but maybe. Also just what a difference between podcast quality though, right? Like, it's got to be really it throws you to listen between was it 13 years later of just experience and editing and just how different podcasts and the social media landscape and all of that had been at a very different time.
Yeah, it's a real legacy, honestly, of podcasting, of history. The fact that this is all still up, the original site and episode links and everything is accessible.
Heaven forbid.
It's a time capsule of value to the Smash community, to Nintendo history. This was dialogue and conversation and energy around this time that people didn't know how to say Reggie Fils-Aimé's name. Panda called him like Fils-Aimé or something.
Phil's aim.
Phil's aim. Yeah, it's just it's so interesting, and it's wonderful that it's all still there and accessible and preserved in a way. I even found your old store finally. I don't even want to talk about how long it took me to find that. And then, of course, you just say the URL in an episode and it works. And I'm like out here trying to find it in old posts.
And here I'm not making anything from that. I think I know who ran the site, but gosh, they probably have moved way on from that.
I'm kind of tempted to buy one of the clocks, one of the all. I mean,
if you can go for it. It's a pretty great clock.
It added to the cart. So I don't know. We'll find out. It would be really funny. I kind of want one.
Cafepress.com/showmeyournews.
As of this recording, still works. So go buy merch. I don't know. Peter probably doesn't benefit from this at all anymore.
Not at all. Not at all.
$0. Mm-hmm. But if you want a piece of history that may or may not show up at your door, might be worth a shot. Who knows? But to wrap up the Brawl part of this, what the legacy of Brawl, I think a lot of people look back on it, and this is like the worst one. Everyone looks down on Brawl. It's the slow one. It didn't look like visually, it wasn't maybe all that it could have been, but the Wii was really just two GameCubes duct taped together. So what could they have done? It was this game that didn't have great online. That promise of online really kind of faltered. It was this game that looked back. People, I don't think, you don't go to a Smash party or see people playing Smash and they're not playing Brawl. They're playing either Melee, maybe 64 for just the pure classics, or Ultimate nowadays, or, a few years ago it would have been for Wii U. I don't know. What's the legacy of Brawl to you? What do you think about it? I feel like people forget about it. I forget about it,
I think it's forgettable in the way that it was the start of what Super Smash Bros. Would become as that true celebration of not only Nintendo, but video games as a whole, that we do see culminate in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the ideas of making it a big anthology game really started here. And there were things to learn from it, certainly. But it goes from this, hyper competitive platform fighter to let's tone down that competitiveness a bit and just kind of amplify games. And, that's with the music. That's with the different selection of characters, that the choices that were made there. And you'd only see that grow through the generations of Smash. Mm-hmm. That, by that point, you have better choices to play if you want to play Super Smash Bros. And so that's why you're not going to go bring up and boot up your Wii.
Yeah. Brawl paved the way in a strange way to look at it. Like we've talked about with Sonic and Snake. It paves the way for every third-party character since then. To the hype reveals of Cloud for Wii U. To only then get Sephiroth later in Ultimate, or have Sora be the final character. I mean,
Joker as an Unreal DLC choice
at the Game Awards, right? Like that was Banjo and Kazooie. I mean, what are you Grant Kirkhope composing Banjo Kazooie music in the year of our Lord, 2022? It's just
a character that Sakurai wanted to put in Melee, but still could not find the way until 2019.
You've got Dragon Quest in there. Even for someone who has never played Dragon Quest, I understand the significance. There's other fighting games. We did Terry, Kazuya.
Oh my gosh.
Ryu, Ken. I mean, these were competitors to a degree of Smash Brothers. They're in here. It's truly a celebration of the history of video games, and something that Sakurai has been and is clearly passionate about, putting in different stickers and characters. And it is like the history of video games in a video game, which is so perfect for the medium.
And to reveal that out with, the Everyone Is Here trailer, to start that all off, and just another all-timer trailer, just to really show that they did the thing.
They did. I watched that trailer again today just to prep, and it's the pacing to the reveal is so good because at the point it starts with ice climbers. It's like, oh, they're back. Yay. Cool. That's so great. And then it cuts to Snake doing the famous Metal Gear Solid 2 invisible electric reveal. The initial reaction is, oh my God, Snake is back in Smash. But then it's the everyone is here. And then, I mean, if you watch a reaction video, the most famous one is the New York Nintendo store.
Yeah.
Everyone pops off. And then it goes to those cut Melee characters. Pichu, Dr. Mario, Roy. Everyone is here.
Like, no, truly, we mean it. Yeah.
Cloud shows up after that, which at the time you would have thought, like, I don't know if they'll get Cloud back, Square Enix and all that stuff. But they did. Everyone is here. And that wouldn't have been possible without Brawl kind of starting. I guess, really, I suppose Hideo Kojima's like nephew wanting Snake and Smash, I guess, really started
exactly.
it all. Thanks, Kojima. Well, I guess we all owe Kojima and Sakurai in an unpayable debt that will never come back. But the other like tiny thing about Brawl's Legacy, it's also like the most hackable Smash game ever, and
so fun. Project M shouts out Brawl minus, Brawl plus, all the stages and music is such a good time. Thank you, Wii, for being such a little tinker box of a dream.
Right. And again, I think a testament to the community and the desire for Smash, the passion for Smash. I saw a few weeks ago, buddy was showing me there's like some N64 mods that look absolutely insane of putting in characters you would have dreamed of back then. It's pretty cool. They have Conquer in there, which is pretty funny. Smash is awesome, and Brawl is awesome, even if we don't play it very much these days, if ever. I guess except for yesterday when I may have streamed Subspace, hopefully. So
it's just a microcosm of the time and what video games could be. What Smash could be, the dream of what could be. A passion for Smash is really what it all comes down to. Yeah.
All right. So before we wrap up, we're going to move on to this week's
Brawl Viewpoint.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the podcast is getting to meet people. So many people we've met because of this, and it's really a great thing. And first and foremost, Samurai Panda, you've been an absolute joy to have on this podcast as a guest. It's really just been incredible. And you had this idea for a round table Panda, and like it's really come to fruition. And it's all because of how we just clicked and we could talk about Brawl. And it's obviously affected us, to the point that,
we're living together
we
now.
Decided to, room together next year in an apartment. I mean, it's really, and like also, people that we've, had on the podcast, like Gimpy and Buzz and Cyberlink and Sariku and so many people that, have contributed in some way. And it's really been awesome to even just meet, fans, talking to you online, saying how much they love the podcast. It's just the people. I think the people is the best part of the podcast.
Yeah.
Hello, Max and Peter. Happy Super Smash Brothers Brawl birthday. The best B alliteration on the net. I am Alex O'Neill. Obviously, born and bred on Show Me Your News, the first podcast I ever listened to, will always hold a special place in my heart. An awakening was felt, maybe in the Force, maybe on the internet, who knows. that led me to being the podcaster and content creator I am now. Thanks to Show Me Your News, sharing passion about just the things that we love, in that case, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Just some fun memories to throw your way of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I was in my freshman year of high school. I know, I'm very young, but I'm old now. And I sat right next to Scott Guthier, who is one of my best friends of all time, who would go on to be my co-host and co-founder of Irrational Passions podcast. And I would stay up till 2 a.m. reading SmashBros.com updates to share with him, like when Sonic was added to the game, or when crazy stuff happened. Just every morning on the GameFAQs message boards, trading theories on what today's update was going to be, if it was going to be a lame move breakdown, or if it was going to be a new stage or character reveal. And nothing will ever be as special as the podcast and being in the cycle of hearing the news every week. It left a huge impression on me. And obviously, I wouldn't be who I am today without that. So in particular, thank you, Peter, for everything you and Samurai Panda and just the whole Smash community did. And yeah, I mean, we got the best Smash Brothers ever in Smash Ultimate, and I feel like Brawl definitely laid the groundwork for that, and I am just so excited to see what comes next. But happy anniversary, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And thanks, Peter, and thanks, Max, for playing my message. Love you both. Have a good rest of your podcast.
Oh man, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. That was a super exciting time because, man, I still think Super Smash Bros. Melee is like the greatest fighting game in existence. And so the fact that there was going to finally be a sequel to that game with new characters and new mechanics was just mind-blowing. I was so excited. Everyone was. And I remember spending tons of time on Smash boards, everyone organizing the different rumors and leaks that they had found. But it wasn't really until, Peter came out with Show Me Your News, a podcast where the excitement kind of like found a home. It's like we now have this recurring place where we can gather and feel the excitement together, because that's the big part of it. Is it was more than just the leaks and the info. It was like, everyone vibing off each other's excitement for the game, like seeing other people be excited and being excited together. It's weird looking back from today, but the fact that Solid Snake was in the game just meant that like anything was possible. You're like, man, if Snake could be in the game, what about all these other characters that could be in the game? And fast forward to today, that's obviously true with characters like Cloud and Sephiroth and Minecraft Steve and a bunch of others. But we were feeling the seeds of those excitement back when Brawl was a thing. So again, Show Me Your News was kind of like the pinnacle of where all that excitement kind of sat for me. And so when the opportunity was presented to be on the show, man, I had to jump on it because I loved the show and I loved Smash and I loved the community. I just wanted to be a part of it and really put myself out there. And it was a good experience for me because, it kind of built my confidence up a little bit and kind of let my opinions kind of reach more people. I kind of had a little bit of a platform to kind of share my angle on different things. And I hope it was positive for people. It was definitely positive for me. And I just have nothing but great memories looking back on that podcast. So thank you, Peter, for everything you've done and for all the lives that you touched. You've definitely impacted me, and I look forward to hearing more from you soon.
Hey, Pete. It's Scott. Now, in terms of my memories and fondness of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, I'll never forget way back in the day when Smash Bros. Brawl first released out in Japan. You had rather nefariously, we weren't nefarious, but we were desperate, with the hacked Wiis. And I remember coming over to your house after the Japanese copy had been placed online. And I remember playing it with you and Sword Hunter, your brother. I will always have such a fondness, especially for Brawl, because of the old draft games we would play during E3 week, or just when we were all hanging out at each other's houses. I'll always be fond of and have fond memories of watching and reacting to the reveal trailers. And when you got me into and showed me Project M and how big you got into that, and all the success that you came to find and you got thanks to Brawl. I wish our schedules allowed us to hang out more, because I always have such a good time hanging out and such good memories playing Smash with you and just being nerdy. And congratulations on the anniversary with Show Me Your News and Brawl's release. And let's brawl it up sometime soon. And take care, dude. Congrats again.
Hey Peter, this is Jason, or Sariku. Max reached out to me and asked if I wanted to say anything to you in celebration of Brawl's anniversary. It took me some time to figure out exactly what I wanted to say, but I was eventually able to sum it up in just 2 words. Thank you. Show Me Your Moves was the first time that I've ever heard of a podcast. Even though I was young, I really wanted to be part of it, and you let me. You created a community around this game and series that, to this day, I continue to watch and play. Brawl had its ups and downs, for sure. But I'll always remember and be thankful for all the contributions that you made for the series that we all love. Thank you for giving me opportunities that you had, even though I was just a kid. Now I'm just a few days away from 30. I actually share my birthday with the North American launch of the game, March 9th. Back then I was frustrated at the delay, but looking back at it, it's pretty cool. I hope that you're doing well, man, and I'm wishing you all the best.
Looking at all the clocks, it's been 15 years and 70 Zubats since the launch of Brawl. And yet we all know that Show Me Your News is older, bolder, and held my attention longer. It's lovable how this reunion, years later from a podcast in the mid-aughts, managed to create a community that exists on the internet to this day. We all know I walked the path of the Brawl of danger. While I'll have to abridge my podcast history, while other speakers may find themselves lost in the nostalgia of what Brawl meant to them, there's really no getting around the fact that myself and many others, it was Peter and Show Me Your News that meant the most. For weeks we'd track the updates, and even when I was just a fan who needed more of that sweet, sweet content, it was amusing to hear voices that were just as passionate as I was about this silly children's fighting game. Something in my neck of the woods was incredibly rare. Your voice from the dojo on to Show Me Your News, onto a certain green-eyed hog, to our tables of debatable roundness, until we finally showed our news to its ultimate end. It sparked more friendships than I can count, including lifelong partnerships and whatever the hell Tony and I are. Seriously, I couldn't believe you didn't know what TH stood for. Did you know he's SH now? Well, I've probably drawn on a bit too long. Dang, Skippy, this was only supposed to be a minute long. Ah well, this probably means I'm deconfirmed from any more guest spots. Viva la Brawl! Hey, since Microsoft owns MLG since, last year, do you think they could still pick us up? Peter? Yoko? I guess the airship sailed on that one.
Thank you. Thank you. That is so sweet. Love you all.
Thank you, Peter, really, for everything you've done.
I'm touched, and from hearing so many voices from throughout the years, and Alex, the Buzzsaw, to Super at the end, and Sariku, what a pull! I mean, my goodness, and Scott, seeing I live close by, and it's nice to have all of that come by. I'm getting a little emotional. Oh my gosh! Thank you so much for pulling that together. That's very sweet, and really thankful for, again, it is always about the people, and That's rung true from old Show Me Your News to other media projects today. It's all about the connections that you make online. And, I still have many friends to this day that, met through the podcast, but still communicate. And Max, we're one of those, connections there. And that's, it all started from, yes, a silly children's platform fighting game.
It did. Thank you, Peter, so much. And, Alan couldn't be here with us today, but, a big thanks goes out to Alan, Samurai Panda.
Absolutely. Yeah. Could not do it without him, for sure.
Yeah. So a huge thank you to him as well, if he ever ends up listening to this. But I have nothing else. So I guess thank you all just for listening. Thank you for celebrating Super Smash Brothers and Show Me Your News in this episode. It means a lot to me. I had this idea a couple months ago, and in typical Max fashion, it spun up a bit more than I really thought. I was actually editing the thank you right before we got on the call because I was waiting for a couple more clips to come in, So thank you all for listening. Peter, are you still on Twitter? What's the scene over there these days? Still on Twitter?
It's a good question. I am still on Twitter.
Okay.
At Pete Speakeasy.
Yes.
That's where you can find me. I do a podcast called Original Sound Chat, as I've name dropped quite a few times, talking about video game music. You can find that on wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, it's on iTunes for your iPods to subscribe to.
Sure is.
Sure is. I mean, technically, I think that all still could work. It's called Apple Music now, but people still use iPods. Why not? You can find my work over at maxfrequency.net. I've got another podcast there, Chapter Select. You may have heard in the introduction. We're doing seasonal shows. Right now, as of this recording, Resident Evil Season 5 is going on. So you can check that out and listen to it. Maybe someday we'll do a Smash Brothers season. That would be kind of interesting, conceptually, to tackle there with five different games, I suppose. But I am on Twitter at MaxRoberts143, but all I tweet is when articles and shows go up. So really, maxfrequency.net is your best bet. So thank you all for listening, and until next time, adios.
We're out.
Show me your news.
God, yeah, you didn't stumble upon the. Did you know Show Me Your News has a fandom page?
No, I knew you have a wiki.
And that's what it is, a wiki, and then a wikia, and then it turned into fandom. So
okay,
it's a trip.
This is the link I found. I wrote in my notes. I was like, Yoko did something that has a wiki. Like that's how.
Yeah.
That's how I attribute fame.
Oh, the Smash Wiki. Oh, geez. That's a whole other thing. Yeah, it's smyn.fandom.com.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah, the Smash Wiki has every episode linked.
That's
season breakdowns.
That's crazy. That's
Colbus, man.
I'm gonna enjoy looking at that later. Wow.
There was one clip I didn't fit in, and it was to make fun of myself. Here, I'll play it for you. I mean, there was actually a bunch of clips. I had some of the dictionary.
Oh God.
I had some of the dictionary clips. Deconfirmed, Dane Skippy.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah.
But this one I felt personally seen in this clip.
Flaw number 3 is just glaring though. Up to jump. Come on, who even used this in Melee? I know, I sure didn't.
I use up to jump, Peter.
People who learned on Smash 64 learned up to jump, and yes. I sure didn't.
Yeah, that was me. I'm Smash 64 up to jump all day, and my friends make fun of me for it to this day. They're like, just use the Y button. I'm like, I can't. They're like, just shut the tilt jump off. I'm like, I can't.
Wow.
Have you, did you get Metroid Prime?
Oh yeah.
You play it yet, or
like,
just buy it?
Beat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
mean,
good?
that was like, it's awesome. It's so good. Like, there's the new controls, which are pretty sweet, and they've got like the dual analog sticks, and you use right trigger to fire, which is awesome. There are a couple drawbacks. I think they've got to have a patch due because they borrowed the code from the earliest version of Metroid Prime, so there's technically like a game lock in there from like one of the early bugs of the game, where one of the artifacts, it's where you beat like an elite pirate warrior for it's the artifact of the warrior, and if you leave the room without collecting the artifact isn't there when you return, so it soft locks you out of the ending. But that's again pulling from like the beginning basic code that they had before any GameCube patches. So they got to fix that. And if they did some extra controller customization, that'd be nice. Because if you use that new control scheme, to change beams is holding X and then D-pad to shift what beam you use. And then super missiles are weird because you can hold A and then press R to fire a super missile. But then if you're so used to shooting ZR or right trigger, to do that and then press R on top of it, it's not comfortable. But then I never used the left bumper throughout the whole game. So if they had some sort of customization, I think it auto defaults to jump, and I'm like, I'm not jumping with that button. So if you had some controller customization there, that aside, they visually redid it from the ground up. The gameplay is the exact same. It's a revelation, and I think the 10s are justified, though it's not going to win any Game of the Year for it being a remake. But it was awesome. It was awesome. I got it like digital day one and just burned through it.
I had it pre-ordered at Best Buy. Then Logan talked me out of it. He's like, you don't need it right now. So I canceled it. And then I'm looking everywhere and it's sold out, delayed shipping orders. I'm like, I'm getting the FOMO.
It sounds like it's a mess.
I'm getting the FOMO now. I'm like, curse you, Logan. So I found it at a local mom and pop.
Nice.
And snagged that. So now it sits on my shelf waiting for the day.
If you love the original, you'll love it all over again.
Oh my gosh, I was so happy to see it. And then Digital Foundry's video, because I thought it would have just my thought was they were going to take the trilogy version, like the Wii version, and just port that with modern controls. That's what I thought. So when I saw it was a ground up, I mean, it really should be called remake, not remaster. It sounds like asset. I don't know. The assets seem pretty nice.
The visual assets, yes, but everything else, it plays the exact same. The game order is the exact same. Like they didn't refine anything like that. Like all the gameplay things are there though. I don't know how to do like there's a for speedrunners, like there's a way to get like the space jump boots right at the beginning by doing some wacky jumps. I don't know if that's there, but it plays exactly the same and it wasn't refined anyway that way. And I think that's the only real reason why it's just given remastered. But visually, that's wild.
It's good stuff, man. What'd you think of the Pokemon Direct?
Funny to see Sleep after so long, after it being a running joke. I don't know how you track Sleep with a phone app that like your phone's just going to stay plugged in.
I've been doing it for years, actually. It's the same.
Does it work?
I mean, I get a graph. Now, is there actionable data on it? Who knows?
Right.
But I honestly just use it because I like the way that particular alarm app wakes you up. It kind of eases you up with the noise instead of just a red alert.
Yeah, I don't know about falling asleep to Pikachu, but
I showed Abby and said we will buy this for our daughter, and she will have Pikachu sing lullabies.
That's precious. That's precious. I didn't get the Sword and Shield DLC. I'm not seeing any real need to jump on Scarlet and Violet's, but
I don't need to pay for that right now. I'll probably play it late, later in the year, but I don't need to pay for that right now, especially the game is still jank. Probably will be for the rest of its life.
Yeah, and I enjoyed what I played, but we'll see if anything comes with those Switch 2 whatever rumors for end of this year. I don't know.
Feels like a game design like something in the pipeline at Game Freak more than the Switch.
Yeah, I don't. There's that one leak where like however you buy 4chan, the guy posted a few days before the direct and he talks about how they're prepping the second DLC for a graphics patch for a future Switch, and he had like every other detail about it right. So I mean, we'll see.
You, according to Panda, you have 15 more years to win an Oscar for sound engineering in a film. So his prediction was in 30 years you would have an Oscar.
The things you forget. Well, unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
15 years, you never know.
We can probably get into
career shift right here. I just heard that line today. So
wow.
The Dojo. Grey's Anatomy, House, and the list goes on. You've been watching season premieres all this week, but now it's time for what you've really been waiting for. That's right, this is Show Me Your News, and we're in season 2.
Show me your news! Yo, 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 Smash fans! Welcome to Show Me Your News. What's up, Smash fans? Welcome to Show Me Your News. Greetings and salutations, Smash fans. Welcome to Show Me Your News, your weekly weekend podcasting source recapping the biggest news in anticipation of Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Welcome to the belated Part 3 of Show Me Your News, Episode 26. Joining me for Part 3 is my co-host for the week, Gimpyfish, and the special guest is a mysterious fellow. I don't know where he comes from, who he is, or really why he's important to SMYN. We call him Waiko. Welcome, Waiko.
How are you all today, Smash fans?
Nice.
Oh, Wario, it's almost like my brother.
That voice is gonna bug me.
Let me use a real voice now. Okay, I'm switching.
Now, if Sakurai completely removes it, I can definitely see a small but strong minority sticking with Melee, like how some stuck with 64.
Like, with a feature like this, you could potentially play it forever.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that's really what they're shooting for, infinite replayability in Brawl, with all the customizing stuff, all the user-made things, and Sakurai potentially may never even make another Smash Bros. game, so this game will last a long time in history, hopefully. So, say
Dylan
after 1 year. Yeah, Dylan.
After 1 year, I bet pretty much everybody will be playing Brawl.
Yeah, really. Once Brawl comes out, who's going to be playing Melee?
Definitely, I think we could see DS games. I mean, at first I thought you were saying we could see a Smash Brothers DS. I'm like, I don't know where you're getting that. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid games, I mean, definitely. I mean...
Paytar asks, do you think that there will be a Smash DS?
Sakurai's not working on it. Well, I think if Final Fantasy characters get involved, I mean, yeah, you got Metal Gear Solid 4 helping the PS3, but if you get a Final Fantasy character like Cloud or Sephiroth, I mean, I haven't played Final Fantasy, so I'm just going off of general fanboy spoutings, but if that happens, that's the final nail in the coffin for Sony, and that'd just be ridiculous. Same thing with Kingdom Hearts. I mean, if you get Sora from Kingdom Hearts, which, again, I haven't played because I'm kind of anti-Sony.
Other than Knuckles, Mega Man I think is almost a given, and I could definitely see one of those WTF characters that you don't really expect at the end to actually be a third-party character in the sense of Pac-Man.
Honestly, if anybody should be angry at the big N and Sakurai, it should be me. I mean, could you imagine me finding out that I have 2 more months of Show Me Your News left to do? When I started this project, I didn't imagine it stretching to 2008 at all, but Sakurai has given me that much more work.
So, let's move on to the Dragoon Prophet, is what I'm calling him. He's usually known as the Prophet now,
right.
I guess. He said, Wolf is in the game. Falco is returning. Ganondorf is returning. Captain Falcon is returning. Lucario is taking Mewtwo's place, which is, again, information we've gotten. He himself says place being a vague term, and he doesn't know exactly what it means. He also says Ness is returning. He says Zelda can turn into Sheik. Final Destination is back, and this is the kicker. Right. There are these items that are called Dragoon parts. I did some research, and apparently they're from Kirby's Air Ride. Supposedly, if you collect all 3 parts, you can do some devastating move where you control a crosshair and do a crazy rush or something. That is verbatim. Okay? Obviously, the Dragoon part, he was dead on about. gonna be interesting.
Wouldn't it be a little trippy though if it was like everyone slows down but you remain regular speed? I mean, that'd be like
Matrix. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that'd be like Sonic's Chaos Control and Clock Form.
And then you got Diddy with dual wielding pistols. Isn't that also part of the special brawl thing too, though? Isn't there a mode? Isn't there something you can change for that?
Yeah, there's a slow and fast option.
So you got like you have it all the way for slow on that, and then you have it like all clocks.
Oh, that would be so cool.
All clocks. Go clean your clocks, fool.
Yes, dude. To counter people saying Fox only, Final Destination, no items, I think we should start like saying, you know, super spicy curry, heavy clear, bunny hood, heavy slow, all clocks on halberd. Not even.
We'll make up a phrase.
Yeah, we have to do that sometimes.
And that'll be it.
All clocks.
All clocks. Yes.
Like, OMG, it's a new internet meme.
Is that how you pronounce that? I
have no idea.
I don't know. Anyways.
May? Whatever.
Because he's on the internet, he must.
I'm 19 years old and dangerous.
No, I'm really, I'm not, guys. Come on.
Oh, dude. Snake's box totally deconfirmed for his shield button. Who honestly thought
did you just say deconfirmed?
I totally did. that should be added to the dictionary, the Yoko Panda dictionary that we have going now. Because you know what, people? That's not a real word.
Thank you.
I hope you can hear my applause into the microphone.
So now let's move on to Big 33. or the Big Three.
For those of you who
Dang
don't
Skippy.
speak.
Whoa.
Dang Skippy.
Where'd that come from?
We're moving on to the Big Three.
Alright, so let's get to the battle for the Smash Ball. This was also part of the double update on Wednesday. Yeah. My sentiments, exactly. This was kind of hurlerific.
Yeah.
to
Plus
say the
one
least.
dictionary.
Yeah, plus one. So yeah, we basically found out that, you know, we gotta break open the Smash Ball to get its smashy goodness.
Rock the iceberg. I think that should be a new Show Me Your News thing. Rock the iceberg.
It's here and I like it. Oh, rock the iceberg.
Rock the iceberg. The first thing I thought of was DBZ.
Oh, yeah.
Dragon, rock the dragon. Except this time it's like iceberg, rock the iceberg. Iceberg Ball Z.
Down to Smash Brothers X.
Oh, man.
Way to go. Anyway, we have to move on to the Samurai Panda Conspiracy Theory.
Oh,
so,
man,
Dun dun dun.
the rhyming just does not sound good in that deep voice. I'm sorry.
Conspiracy Theory then.
Conspiracy Theory.
That just seems silly. Ness is not in the game. Please, stop making me weep tears of the translators.
Newborn children out of the womb would have money in their hand and buy it.
They would be happy just to teeth on the disc of awesome. That's how good the game will be.
Yeah, but I mean, Japan giving Ridley some props. Hopefully that helps that chances. Am I right?
Oh yeah, I personally don't doubt that Ridley won't be in it. Just how I don't doubt Sonic will be in it. You know, there is something that kind of bugs me about people that just go off saying Sonic won't be in the game, or I hope Sonic's in the game. Like, there's nothing to hope about. There's nothing to there's no question. Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario's biggest rival and Sega's biggest money maker, is going to be in Smash.
Honestly, Nintendo's getting this down to a T for a free, minimizing lag online system. That's for sure. Oh yeah, and if you want to give me any suggestions for what I should put as my 4 taunts, go right ahead. One will be Show Me Your News, obviously. Now this mode is going to cement Brawl as one of the best games ever created. Most of the boards, however, did not buy this kind of crap and just accepted the fact that our dear Brawl is delayed. Obviously, the overall reaction was negative, and who could blame them? Reggie Fils-Aimé looks like an absolute fool and liar now because several of his quotes from E3 have turned out to be lies. Debated by pressing 1 and 2. This is flaw number 1. Pressing 2 buttons at the same time with your thumb is just an insanely stupid concept. Not only that, there is no such thing as a neutral smash attack. So when you combine the 2 buttons with a direction, you are not pressing 1, not 2, but you're pressing 3 buttons at the same time to pull off moves that are pretty much integral to the game. I mean, we haven't covered 2 buttons on the controller, and we already have a problem with this scheme. The only thing that worries me, though, is how much advertising this will do for Metal Gear Solid 4, which is going to be the premier game for the PlayStation 3. But then at the same time, I think of how Brawl is going to outsell the pants out of Metal Gear Solid 4. So there really is nothing of real concern here.
Yeah. And tripping. If you don't know, sometimes when you're just walking, you're like running around, and your character inexplicably trips and falls. And this is a completely like unnecessary gameplay addition. We have no idea why it's there. So I'm actually looking forward to that update because I want to see like why the hell would they have your character randomly trip and fall?
Yeah, come on, give us your reasoning, Sakurai. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
Because we saw people tripping immediately after starting to dash.
Right.
I hope it's not random.
If it's random, that would be possibly the worst
high
thing ever.
heavens that it's not a feature where like you start off just a normal sprint and like boom right there you just trip just cuz.
Yeah, that would be awful. That would be such a bad, dumb addition to the game.
Flaw number 3 is just glaring, though. Up, to, jump. Come on, who even used this in Melee? I know, I sure didn't.
I not only do I not want you to say it, but I don't want to notice it more.
Yeah,
like,
really.
I,
He's got love handles, man. You can just want to grab those and just. I don't know what you actually do with love handles.
I don't want anything to do with them.
That's an awesome word for those flab things, like love handles. He should say like Wario has some massive love handles. that would have been an awesome Sakurai quote. Oh my god. I wish I was Sakurai now. Well, I am technically, according to last episode.
And it's been a 35 wonderful weeks, 35 characters, 35 weeks. It feels like it was fate.
It really was. Sakurai was like, you know what? It'll end right around this time. That's how many characters are going to be in the game. They probably took out a few characters. We're the reason why Crystal's not in Brawl.
But yeah, thank you guys. It has been absolutely wonderful. And with that,
I'm Waiko.
Nice. Wow.
And seriously, I'm Yoko.
Yeah. I'm Samurai Panda.
And we are out. Thanks again, everyone.